Welcome to the AU Scoop. I'm your host, Philip Dukes, aka Dukes the Scoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Dukes the Scoop. And please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. All right, so not gonna keep a ton of your time today. What we'll do is we'll talk about some things that I heard coming out of Auburn's last official visit weekend. All right, and as you know, if you got to go subscribe to Auburn Undercover on 24/7 Sports. That's a great place. My man Chris Clemente is all over it. And you also, I mean, you got plenty of guys like to go get your stuff, get your recruiting knowledge. You can go 2 on 3. You can go to Auburn Live. I mean, I got love for everybody. But with that being said, I get a little bit of scoop of my own as well. Let's talk about Landon Duckworth, the quarterback. Takes an unofficial visit to Auburn last week. I thought that very telling. So he goes in, he says, all right, South Carolina is my leader after the South Carolina visit. Then he comes back and he says, you know what? I want to go see Auburn one more time after he cancels his remaining official visit. Okay. Gets to Auburn, hanging out with Coach Kent Austin, quarterback's coach, hanging out with Deuce Knight. You spend a little time with Kenyatta Watson, who was very instrumental in Deuce Knight's recruitment. And things are heating up a little bit. There was a time where I thought that Auburn just wasn't going to pony up what it took to get Landon Duckworth. After the restructuring of the NIL, I guess, landscape with profit sharing or revenue sharing, I think some of the numbers may have changed, and it's going to happen in multiple recruitments. This is the deal. I think that there was a time where South Carolina had a number so exorbitant that it was like, nah, no way Auburn's going to touch that. And I think that as we get down to the nitty gritty, I think South Carolina still has a very attractive offer NIL wise for Duckworth, but they have to be realistic as well. And so does Auburn. And now Auburn's realistic number is a little more aggressive than it probably was in the past in South Carolina, and it makes South Carolina's offer not as crazy. And it's like, I can consider Auburn a little more. And it's not just about the money, because I do believe that if Landon Duckworth comes to Auburn, he's going to get less money. But I think the opportunity, the relationships, the ability to be developed, and I, I just think that the offense is a fit for him. Not to say South Carolina's isn't. You can look at Lenore Sellers and what he's able to do and what he's done with a similar skill set. But I think there's something brewing here. And, you know, last week I said, hey, maybe, you can have some Jordan hair magic, so to speak, when you get Landon Duckworth back on campus. So he's at Elite 11 right now. I think that he's considering Auburn a lot more strongly than he was going into that visit. I think there's a little time left. I got to check the dates, but depending on when he departs from Elite 11, I wouldn't be surprised if there's one more stop in Auburn. I got to make sure the dates line up, but from what I'm hearing, whoever he goes to unofficially, that last time is going to have the best shot at getting him. If he's able to squeeze another visit in before it goes dead, the school he chooses to visit will be telling. And I think that's going to have a lot to do with it. Now, he could go to Auburn and decide that South Carolina is the place for him and vice versa. But I do think that Landon Duckworth will get one more look at one of these two schools before it's all said and done, before he chooses to commit. I think, and yeah, but I tell you what, I feel a lot better. And I'm not predicting him to Auburn. What I'm saying is I feel a lot better about Auburn's chances than I did previously. Another guy who I feel a lot better about Auburn's chances, Shadarius Toodle. So we know it's been reported everywhere that Shadarius Toodle really enjoyed his visit. I think that when you look at a position of need and how he's going to be used, the ability and the want and the necessity for Shadarius Toodle, especially with the decommitment of J. Mike Garrett. He's as high a priority as you can get. I think Georgia saw him in a role where he could be pass rushing as well as being an off-ball linebacker. I think that Auburn sees him in that off-ball linebacker role where he can come in and help you tomorrow. You don't have a guy with that kind of size, and I think that's what Auburn is looking for. One guy, at least the anchor. When you look at the speedier, smaller, undersized guys that Auburn has traditionally been fielding at linebacker, I think the best linebacker we've had or Auburn's had in a long time was probably Josh Bonds with, plus 6'1" size and broad shoulders and that traditional big boy linebacker frame. But, a lot of those guys who have that type of size are now going to the edge and playing a hybrid role. And I think that's where Georgia sees Toodle. But with that being said, the ability to play next year, I think that opportunity is in Auburn. You look at Elijah Melendez, one of those bigger guys that you got as a true freshman. He's going to play. So I think getting guys who aren't undersized is important. And I think that message has been conveyed to Shadarius Toodle. And I think that, his dad is a super fan, you got to see him. He wears the blazer. He got the Auburn blazer. Shout out to Shadarius Toodle Sr. But, yeah, for sure. But yeah, all in all, I think Auburn also made a move with Shadarius Toodle. So that's great news. The last guy I'm gonna talk about today in this very quick recruiting update is Xavier Toodle. So going into the Florida State visit for Xavier Toodle, he's been a guy that Auburn has been flirting with the whole time, and everybody thought that Toodle was just going to jump on board, and he never did. There was something always just a little bit off there. Then, Auburn recruits other tight ends. You got Prothrow, you got J.C. Anderson, and maybe Tiller wasn't as high on their board as previously. Then he starts to go to Alabama, and it was Alabama was all the buzz, and he just comes off a visit to Florida State, and Florida State was the buzz, and a lot of people thought that Florida State sealed the deal this weekend. I'm here to tell you that deal has not been sealed. The buzz here is that you could see Xavier Toodle at either Alabama or Auburn this week. I'm thinking maybe Alabama or Auburn, but if I had to take my pick right now, it would be between those two. I think this is an Iron Bowl battle. I think Florida State really took a very big swing this weekend. Made a lot of headway to the point where I heard he was close to committing. But the word I got today, Tuesday, was that Tiller, really could be in orange and blue. He's a guy I know Coach Ben likes a lot. We look at his athleticism and what he can do. Some people want to see him gain some weight, but when you talk about being a willing blocker, just go look at the game against Buford. Langston Hughes against Buford last year, man. He took some some really high ranked guys that he took liberties with. So I think now, the Douglas County game, left a little bit to be desired, but I think he's putting it all together where there was one point in time where, Tiller could have been the top tight end prospect in the country. This was coming out of 10th grade when he first got on people's radars. He had all the makeup to be, one of the very best in the country. I think now he's ranked maybe number 10. But 4-star guy, 5-star potential. When you talk about hands, when you talk about speed, when you talk about agility, when you talk about nastiness, willingness to block, height, now you just want that frame to fill out. So Xavier Toodle is somebody that I'm not gonna say I'm expecting in Auburn's class, but that Auburn made a late move last couple days because there were a lot of people in Florida that were thinking Florida State had pulled it out. I even talked to someone at Florida State who was like, "Yeah, got it done." Well, not no more. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think out of those three players, Auburn has good shots at those three. More guys that officially visited last week. But if you want more on that, go check out Auburn Undercover YouTube. It'll be going live. I think Christian Clemente and Nate got one coming out tonight, and they'll have more in-depth analysis. But yeah, I just wanted to jump on to get you guys a quick update. I should be back. Either I'll drop another one tomorrow, drop another one Thursday. I got some info on CD Morgan, Marquez Daniel, guys who Auburn targets, who right now Auburn may be turning away from, but got some good insight to why some of that stuff is kind of going on and how can Auburn get back in those races. All right, man, I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you. Please be sure to like and subscribe. I am out.